For the second one, it's always technical, so I have to refer you to the paper.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
The first one, the military contribution to the debt. It's an important contribution. You shouldn't see the last years only, but since the 80s and the 70s as well. But the important thing with the debt is to think that Greece, since the accession to the euro, borrowed roughly 490 billion euros, and the cumulative government deficit, so what was missing from the budget every year, cumulatively over this, from 2000 until 2009, it was less than 20 billion. So the whole, the debt was actually, Greece was, and this is not happening also only with Greece, it's happening with all countries. It borrows to roll over the debt. It has debt, and then you borrow again to finance all debt and all debt and all debt, and this usually increases. The contribution of the military is of course very important. If you think that it's 15% of the budget at the moment, yes. Not to mention that it's for submarines that are not working.
Yeah. Can I just mention that it was a condition of the bailout to Greece that they would continue to pay for military hardware from France and Germany. So it's not so that the Greeks are stubborn militarists, although they are, of course, because the army has never been completely cleaned up of those who actually imposed the dictatorship from 67 to 74. So that element persists, but it's the French and German policy. And as to the membership that you mentioned of Greece, that they were lying about their finances, there you should remember that they were advised by Goldman Sachs. It's a famous story. And Goldman Sachs said to them, we can dissimulate, make invisible part of your debt if you let us transfer that debt into derivatives, which then are denominated in yen and a number of other currencies and are no longer counted as debt. That will mean that in a number of years you will have to pay back that debt, and then it will of course reappear as debt. And since Goldman Sachs didn't trust that Greece at one day would indeed be able to pay back that money, at the same time they insured that debt through credit default swaps, which is a derivative, with the German Landesbank, the fund bank or something. And that means that Goldman Sachs always comes out as a winner, because either they get the Greek loan back, or if they don't get it back, they get the credit default swaps back from the German Landbank. And that's a beautiful example of how the people who are really in charge now, because don't forget that Mario Draghi, the head of the European Central Bank, is a former Goldman Sachs officer. Mario Monti in Italy, who was the caretaker prime minister, was a former Goldman Sachs, and there are 6 or 7 other names who are important in currently running the European show, who are former Goldman Sachs. And Goldman Sachs today is really the most blatant example of financial fraud, because this is pure criminality. You sell something, and at the same time, because you don't believe it will actually be paid back, you insure your sales, and they did the same with the subprime, and of course many other banks did the same. And the whole derivatives industry. Now, since I'm talking, can I just say that today, I read in the Le Monde newspaper, today the European banking system, which is the weakest of the developed world compared to Japan and United States and North America, the European banking system is exposed to the tune of $360 trillion derivatives. So all this kind of product, default swaps, collateralized debt obligations. And the real danger is that one of the banks that is most exposed is the Société Générale in France. And it's precisely that bank which I saw in the Paris Match, which is a sort of ladies' magazine. There was a big diagram, who finances Marine Le Pen and the Front National. And, my wife showed it to me on holiday, and I saw all these family foundations, and there was one name that was very interesting, and that was the Société Générale, which gave a big loan to Marine Le Pen. And of course, you don't give a loan if you don't expect that group will rise to power at some point. And the reason I mention that is to constantly remind you of the fact that this indebtedness is connected to political processes that may surprise us at some point. I'm not trying to create a general fear or panic, but that we don't underrate the forces that are currently building up, because the crisis is deepening. You say the project is succeeding, but there you also should say the political forces that will step in when the great disappointment will strike. And it will become much bigger, because now societies like Greece, but you know more about that, are still kept afloat to some extent by wealthy middle-class pensioners who step in for their family members who are unemployed. I heard that in Spain. I said, how is it possible? I was in San Sebastian and Bilbao. I said, how can the society look so rich? And they said, well, that's because people who get their pension, according to Spanish custom, will keep their family members afloat. Once these people die and their pensions are no longer paid out, then you get a sort of rapid acceleration of political development, where it becomes very important to know who is financing whom, who is building up certain political programs. And I don't know whether Golden Dawn is of that caliber. I mean, maybe they are a bit too fascist, old style. But anyway, there are many people here who can speak about that.